We go from what on paper was a difficult away game against Man United on Thursday night, to what could be an even more difficult game away to Brighton this coming Sunday. And given that despite our efforts at Old Trafford, we're still in the bottom three and really need to keep up the momentum to stay in touching distance of the teams above us in the league. Brighton go into this game with only one defeat in their last five, which was their last home game against Aston Villa, where they squandered a 2-0 lead and the game finished 4-3 to Villa. Prior to that, they beat Nottingham Forest, Brentford and Leeds, whilst drawing 0-0 away to Crystal Palace. But Brighton go into this game with a serious blow to young striker Stefanos Tsimas, whilst West Ham welcome back Lucas Paqueta from suspension. And this should be a tactical chess match in a way between the two managers. The two managers are going to be sort of trying to outthink each other, with Brighton likely to control possession and West Ham probably trying to maintain a compact formation and to try and hit Brighton on the break. Now, in comparison to Brighton's recent form, West Ham's month has been somewhat patchy the last month. A couple of solid home wins, a couple of draws, and a 2-0 defeat at home to Liverpool. But the marked difference between our performance against Liverpool and Man United is pretty huge. You think about the game that was played against Man United and the game against Liverpool. It just didn't look like the same team, did it? Anyway, the loss of Greek under-21 international Tsimas could be quite significant for Brighton. He arrived at the club earlier this year in a €26.5 million euros transfer fee and was loaned out and then returned this season to bolster Brighton's attack. But he's now facing a long-term knee injury after being withdrawn early in the game against Villa. Fabian Hertzler described it as a long-term problem while scans are ongoing. So to replace him, Brighton are going to be looking at veteran striker Danny Welbeck. He will most definitely be the shoe-in and starting against West Ham this coming Sunday. And he's likely to even captain the team as well. Now, Danny Welbeck is this season's top goal scorer for Brighton with 7 goals. And so despite his age of 35, the veteran striker is still doing it. Now, I should say he's actually joint top goal scorer with midfielder Diego Gomez. But in fairness, 4 of Gomez's, the stats are correct, but 4 of Gomez's 7 goals this season came against Barnsley in the 3rd round of the League Cup. But Welbeck is nonetheless going to be a handful, and it will take another fine effort from our central defenders to keep him quiet. Brighton also have a handful of knocks and doubts coming up for this game. Tsimas is joined by James Milner with a muscle injury, Solly March with a knee injury, Adam Webster with another player with a knee injury, and the absentee list goes on whilst with Yazin Ayari, another player with a muscle injury, and Kuru Mitoma with an ankle injury, plus Jorginho Ruta with a head injury, and Tommy Watson with another unknown injury. So they've got their fair share of injuries. However, Hertzler still manages to get a tune out of the squad that he's got. Now, Welbeck's return spells optimism for the Brighton faithful, as the Englishman has scored 6 Premier League goals against West Ham in the past. It's the most he's scored against a Premier League opposition. Of course, it would have to be West Ham. In contrast, West Ham will welcome back Lucas Paqueta, who served a 1-match ban. Let me get rid of that. That's better. Who served a 1-match suspension for his sending off against Liverpool. And Nuno confirmed that he'll be straight back into the starting lineup this coming Sunday. Nuno was asked in the press conference whether he was worried about Paqueta's temperament. But the Portuguese coach was adamant that this was now behind him. It's in the past. And he was confident that Paqueta won't behave in the same way again. Now, we also have our fitness issues, with the game coming a little bit too soon for Crescencio Somerville with a calf injury. And apparently, the Aston Villa game in a couple of in next week is penciled in for his possible return. However, there will also be concerns over Jared Bowen's fitness after he ended up limping off against Man United. Now, regardless of who he has available to him, Hertzler is likely to play with a 4-2-3-1 formation or a 4-3-3, focusing primarily on ball possession, building attacking play from the back. And when they don't have the ball, they're going to be pressing high in order to try and regain possession. After what we saw on Thursday evening against Man U, it is highly likely that Nuno will adopt a similar style. I mean, Nuno is known for his sitting back, trying to hit teams on the break, etc. But I don't know. I think the way we've set ourselves up against Man United might suggest that he's going to go for a little more than conceding possession and trying to go for the counter attack. Key areas to watch out for include how our wide players match up to Brighton's fullbacks and how each team handles set pieces. But for me, when it comes to possession, the main battle is going to be in midfield. Now, our combination of Songutu Magassa, Freddie Potts, and Matthias Fernandes will have a very different challenge to the one that they face against Man United. Brighton wanting to keep the ball, of course, but it's a challenge that I think that our dynamic trio are going to be up to. We showed what courage, control, and being competitive could do against Man United. We disrupted them. We got in their faces. We didn't allow them time to control the tempo. Sure, we tired in the first half. After the first half an hour, the last 15 minutes were primarily dominated by Man United, but we kept at it. And our game is going to change because Paqueta is in the starting lineup. But just, I think, however, he's going to want the same sort of intense drive from the midfield to try and ruffle the Brighton midfield so that they don't keep possession of the ball as much as they are accustomed to. Now, Paqueta coming back into the side does slow our game down. He does like to hold on to the ball. He's not the sort of player like Fernandes and Potts and Magassa who's going to get in there in the opposition's faces. And he's not the sort of player that's going to move the ball fast. Those three players knew exactly what they had to do on Thursday night. They got the ball, they moved it, they got in Man United's faces. But with Paqueta in the side, it kind of changes the dynamics of our midfield. Now, there's going to be a player that's going to have to drop out for Paqueta, and some are suggesting that Magassa would be the fall guy. I don't think that's remotely possible. I think my gut instinct says that Souček is going to be the fall guy for Paqueta coming back into the side. Now, it's a shame for Thomas Souček because I think he had a terrific game against Man United. He was deployed out on the right, not his natural position, but he did a job. It was a plan, and he did a job. But the other question is going to be, with Paqueta coming back into the side, what position is he going to be deployed in? For me, it worked to have Jared Bowen roaming behind Callum Wilson as a kind of a free-flowing number 10. And if that is to stay, then maybe Paqueta can be deployed on the right where Souček was. Of course, we could do something different. Fernandes can switch to the right and Paqueta over to the left, leaving Bowen in the middle. But what's more likely to happen is that Bowen is going to be replacing Souček on the right-hand side and Paqueta taking up his role as the number 10. But if he does that, then he's got to be told by Nuno that he can't procrastinate on the ball. He's got to move it fast in the same way as we saw against Man United. We were moving and passing faster, and we need to continue doing the same thing again because that's how we were effective against Man U. Now, that for me will then mean that we've got to maintain our midfield three of Potts, Magassa, and Fernandes. They were all superb. So we've got a couple of scenarios in terms of what happens in the lineup. Look, I think the rest of the team is going to stay the same. I think Areola is going to stay in goal. Wan-Bissaka on the right, Diouf on the left with Dinos and Todibo in central defence. And then Potts, Magassa, I think will be our midfield sort of pivot defensive midfielders. And then it's going to be, I think this is how he's going to start. Bowen on the right, Fernandes on the left side, and Paqueta in the middle with Wilson up front. But as I've said, he could change it round. If he really does want Bowen to stay in the middle, he can deploy Paqueta on the right-hand side. We saw Paqueta play in that role when Moyes was still around. Or he could change it around completely, put Fernandes on the right-hand side, Paqueta over on the left, and keep Bowen in the middle. But to be honest, I think this is how he's starting. I think Paqueta will be starting in the middle. Look, what we need from Paqueta is a team effort. It's not going to be just about Luis Paqueta. It's got to be about the whole team and how he best fits into what we've got set up. Now, some fans have suggested that the reasons for Nuno dropping the likes of Fulkrug, Igor and Guilherme was to save them for this game on Sunday. But I'm not so sure. Wilson played almost the whole game against Man United, and he may well be suffering from fatigue. So there's a slim chance that Fulkrug could be called back in to start instead of Wilson. But I honestly can't see that. It's going to be a good game. The game against Man United was entertaining. And I think this one too will be quite an entertaining game. There's going to be goals in it. And I'm going to be confident enough to say that we're going to beat Brighton 3-2 away. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you can see, there's, says click on the code that's in the corner here, which will become allows you to become a subscriber free of charge. Hit the like button to show your appreciation of the video, and hit the hype button, which helps you to help me promote the video. If you hit the hype button, other viewers can watch it. And if you want to become a member of the West Ham Boys, for $1.99 a month, you get extra content. And that $1.99 goes to charity. It goes to Prostate Cancer UK. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again on, Sunday when we're on our way to Brighton.